Welcome to this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Casey Marquette. He is the CEO of Covenant Technologies and Covenant HR, and we'll learn from him about how AI is powering hiring, and it is uncovering hidden talent, reducing bias, and one can help you scale teams faster. You will learn practical strategies to future proof your career, business, and leadership in the digital age. We'll learn all that from Casey. Welcome to the show, Casey.
Thank you, AJ. Great to be here.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form, Casey. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about how AI can help unlock hidden talent with, in any hiring process. So we'll talk about all this. But before that, very quickly, if we can talk a bit about your background, your journey, your story, so that the audience knows who they are listening to.
Sure, AJ. I'll make this quick, but I've got a very unique story. I actually started as a police officer in the United States, and then I went into corporate America doing physical security, so things like locks and investigations. And then I had a tremendous leader that sent me to forensics training. I ended up picking up forensics, getting certified. I got my master's in information assurance. And fast forward, I ended up being the deputy CISO at Fortune 4 CVS Health, running and building their cybersecurity program. I was the chief delivery security officer at Cognizant. And then I built literally the security operations center from the ground up at Johnson & Johnson. And then, AJ, I spent a year as COO at a consulting firm, and I learned staffing and recruiting, and I knew I could do it better. So I launched my own company, and we are growing at a very rapid rate and doing very well. We are absolutely doing things differently than the norm.
Absolutely, Casey. So coming to the topic straightway, means why is AI needed? Should we consider that humans have failed in the job and AI will now help humans to do the job that they couldn't? With so many organizations talking about finding talent, all those great officers in every organization across the world, should we understand that they have all failed and AI is the fix?
Yes, AI is the fix. I mean, it's not everything. We still leverage humans. There is not a hiring decision made without a human. But let me just give you some data points, AJ. So statistically, 15% of all people that apply to a job are actually reviewed. And I talk to candidates, primarily executive candidates, all day. And I literally hear every day, I apply, I never hear anything. I'm qualified, I never hear anything. So I think the biggest advantage is, and let me just give you a use case. Before we developed this technology, I would say, AJ, on average, we get 500 applicants on each job. Before we developed Scout, our technology, our recruiters would maybe look at 40 of the 500, find good enough, send it to our client, we get paid, everybody's happy. Well, now what's happening, AJ, and it's been really awesome to see, not only have we decreased time to fill by 73%, because Scout, our technology, evaluates people in 2.2 seconds. The average recruiter is 6 minutes per resume. But what it's done is, just statistically speaking, when you actually look at everyone that applies and you're not tired, you're not on your 200th resume and you're exhausted, there's actually better talent in that pile. They were just never looked at. So that's number one. Not only is it way faster, again, reducing 73%, but it's also better quality because you're actually reviewing everyone that applies. In addition, one of the biggest pain points in staffing and recruiting is people hate being ghosted. They don't necessarily mind not getting a job, but just tell me what could I do better? So the technology, when you don't meet the criteria, there's the option to provide very specific feedback. And it's not, AJ, your typical thanks for applying, good luck next time. It's very detailed, so the candidate can know where they need to improve.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's look at it, from this point, just for people's better understanding. If we can look at specific hiring challenges that AI can, solve first, immediately, if we can think of, you named a couple of things, but I want to understand, a bit more in detail from that understanding the case for AI in fixing, this whole hiring process.
Yeah. So from the candidate standpoint, number one, you're going to be reviewed. That's not happening today. A human can't possibly review 500, 1,000 resumes. And a company like ours, or even internal recruiting, you can't be financially viable if you have to hire 400 recruiters to review every resume. It just doesn't work. You wouldn't be in business. So number one, from a candidate standpoint, everybody is reviewed. Again, that's not happening today. Everyone can get feedback. If you put in a platform, you want to provide feedback, candidates will get very, very specific feedback. And then also, if you're qualified, you're more likely to get the job. And here's what I mean, AJ. I always say, would you want your general practitioner doing your heart surgery? So what's happening today in corporate America with staffing companies, you have recruiters that are literally recruiting for IT, cybersecurity, warehouse, sales. They can't possibly understand the technical aspects of all those roles. But with AI and multiple LLMs trained in various industries, Scout, our AI recruiter, knows more about any role than any human recruiter in the world. And so we use Scout to pressure test candidates technically. And then if they pass that, then they're interviewed by a human.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another aspect you talked about, the hidden talent, means why is it that humans can't find those hidden talent and AI will be able to find it? Where is it that such talent is hiding or such jobs are hiding?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's really because of the speed and frankly, just exhaustion. So, I mentioned that Scout can assess and not only assess a candidate, but also provide a very detailed, beautiful readout and articulation of why that candidate scored what they can or what they did in 2.2 seconds. A human takes 6 minutes and you don't get the beautiful write-up. You don't get the articulation. That's just for the review of the resume. In addition, just by virtue of not sleeping, not taking any time off, Scout actually works 4 times as many hours as a human. So simply, you can't hire so many people for every expertise to look through every resume. It's not financially feasible. The great news is now with technology, and we got ahead of this because we saw where it was going. We built our own platform. We're selling it. The staffing companies are using it. Other companies are using it. And frankly, it is taking off, and it is an absolute no-brainer. We work faster, better quality for our clients at a much cheaper cost. And we are actually having internal discussions right now is, how do we provide some of those cost savings to our clients? So that's coming. We are seeing efficiency gains. We've been using the technology for a year. And let me just tell you one example that blew my mind. I had lunch with a staffing owner about 4 months ago. He had the same revenue as me. He had 28 people on his team. I have 8. So our vision from the beginning of the company has been the trendsetters in AI and automation. So we're leveraging it. Humans are still involved, but it really is, even though it may impact, we're not going to let anybody go because of it, but it may impact, do we backfill? But for the overall good of the hiring experience, it is way better for society, because right now I literally talk to people all day, every day, and every one of them says the same thing. I apply to 100 jobs. I never hear anything. It's a waste of time. LinkedIn's terrible. I mean, I just hear people are so frustrated by the whole process.
Absolutely. There is a lot of debate about, being interviewed by bots. How do you suggest that your system is going to take care of this concern, or people will have to live with that?
Yes, well, it's interesting you bring that up, AJ. So we get feedback probably every other day, and I will just tell you the feedback is amazing from candidates. And let me tell you a couple. I mean, we continue to say, "Wow, I loved it. I couldn't believe how fast it was, how accurate it was, the deep questions it asked." So we're getting amazing feedback. It's also really good for neurodivergent type people who get nervous talking to, potentially, live humans. So they're more comfortable with it. So the feedback has been amazing. And let me just give you a data point. January through May, I did an analysis on, we send people a link to interview with Scout, our avatar. In that time frame, 25% of the candidates actually interviewed with Scout. In June, that shot up to 53%. I have not done the analysis since, but what I can tell you is it's being adopted. More and more people are doing it. And the last thing I would say, AJ, would you rather interview with an avatar, or would you rather not ever be considered for the job at all? It's up to you.
Okay.
If you don't want to interview with an avatar, frankly, I don't care. We have plenty of people that are, and they're getting great jobs.
Absolutely. That's a difficult choice for a lot of people, but they will have to make their own choice, Casey. Yeah. But to understand, humans, when they are interviewing another candidate, they do their research, whatever, maybe good, not so good. What sort of research does an AI tool does about the research, about the candidate? Will it scan through all over the internet? What about data privacy? What about things they have been, as an independent person, as a democratic person, writing also on social media?
No. So right now, the platform, to answer your question directly, does not do what you just mentioned. We have another technology that does that, though, and gives a score. In other words, has their LinkedIn, how long's it been up? It gives a score of potential fraud. But let me ask you this, AJ, at your company or any company, who is doing that consistently, and what metrics are they looking at to know that that's happening? It's not happening. Absolutely. It's not happening because it's manual. So what we do have built into the platform is fraud detection. So the platform, let's say, AJ, somebody's resume says they're from Philadelphia and they're interviewing from China. That is going to alert in the platform. It's not a silver bullet. It's simply an alert, something you might want to look into, and you can do the investigation and capture notes. It also has multiple voice detection technology. So, and this happens frequently, if you have two people, two voices in the interview, it's going to flag. It detects if the resume was created in the last day, like it was just created. In other words, created to match the job description. Again, not a silver bullet. It goes through the database and says, this is an exact duplicate of a resume for somebody else. It will alert on that. So we have many fraud detection mechanisms in the platform. But one other thing I'll say, AJ, and it's way more fair. Let me tell you why. I've hired hundreds of people in Fortune 100 companies. Guess what? I ask a candidate 10 questions. My peer asked the candidate 10 different questions. How do you score that fairly? You don't. So what's beautiful about Scout is Scout, the platform, automatically creates questions based on not only the job description, but what we call the must-haves. So we always ask the hiring leader, what's most important to you? And then Scout, our AI avatar that does the interviewing, by the way, in 32 different languages, Scout asks every candidate the same set of questions and grades based on those same set of questions and answers. Way more fair than what we're doing today in hiring.
Absolutely. In terms of, for leaders, how are they looking at this particular from your interaction with them? Also, what are the challenges that they are facing in terms of if they want to implement such a system? Is it that about concern for loss of human recruiters, or is it beyond something else?
Yes, the biggest, and we had this same, that's such a great question, AJ. And we had this same struggle. So when we built Scout, initially, the recruiters did not want to adopt it. I think they were very scared it's going to take my job. Plus, as you know, most people are very resistant to change. I've always done it this way. I'm going to keep doing it this way. Kind of like Blockbuster. And look where Blockbuster is. They're out of business. So we knew we could be more efficient, better quality at a cheaper cost for our clients. So we started building it way before now. And so what we started doing, AJ, is we have meetings twice a week in which our recruiters provide feedback. Here's what I'd like in the platform. And then we also have metrics. How many of the candidates came from Scout? So we have had to kind of pull them along. What I will tell you now, AJ, they love it. They're making more money than they've ever made for probably 20% or 80% less of the work because it's all being automated.
Absolutely. So, Casey, can this tool AI be utilized for all levels of recruitment, or not for or maybe not for leaders, or only for lesser models in the system?
It can be used for all. Now, right now, director level or higher, we're not doing it. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is there's less of those roles, right? So there's just less of them, which gives us more time to have human interaction. But the other thing is, I just don't think we're there yet. I think at a certain level, you're going to frown upon that. I do think that's going to change. I think if you fast forward, I think it's going to be the norm, and we're already seeing it with the data that we're seeing. But right now, we keep it to under director level positions.
So can someone say that, you have used bots for me and you have used humans for the senior roles? That's discrimination. Can it be called that, Casey?
Yeah, I could say anything's discrimination. Of course they could say that. Here's what I would say to that, and I just outlined it. I would actually say it's more fair than what the executives are getting. And let me tell you why. Like I said, you're asked the same question. We've had Scout certified as being non-biased by a third party. Not only non-biased, but the standard deviation, accuracy, and consistency of the scoring, we blew it out of the park. So what I would say is it's more fair going through that process, because the current process, as we all know, humans are biased. Like I said, in the interview, you're asked different questions from everybody you interview with. So if anything, I would say those that are interviewing with Scout are going through a way more fair process than if you do it with humans.
Absolutely. So what do you think the recruiters should do? Recruiters of today, how should they look forward towards having a good career for themselves? Should they start changing careers, go somewhere else, look at, anything else, or start getting ready for a bot which will interview them at a later date, and perhaps find out the bias with which they were actually looking at candidates in their previous jobs?
Yeah, so if I was a recruiter today, I would be obsessed with learning technology and specifically AI. I guarantee you, if you do not adopt it, you will not survive. There's zero doubt in my mind. So I would definitely understand the technology every night. Instead of watching the news and all the bad news on the TV, I'm looking at technology. How can it make us deliver better quality faster for our clients? So recruiters should be doing the same thing. And I think what's beautiful about AI, don't try to fight it. You're not going to win. There's too much benefits there. So if you fight it, that's up to you, but it's not going to be successful. But if you adopt it as a recruiter, then you're spending more time, AJ, doing what we're doing. Relationship building, actually talking to you. You're in the Scout platform, we also have automated scheduling. So instead of saying, AJ, when are you available for an interview? Back and forth, you click one button, the platform does all that. So at the end of the day, our recruiters are spending way more time talking to candidates, not looking through resumes, not scheduling interviews. They're developing relationships, and candidates really, really appreciate that.
Absolutely. What is your biggest differentiator with Scout? Means There are other tools available. You might be having competitors. Do you think you will continue to have an edge over time? What is it that will make you have that particular edge?
That's such a great question. So number one, I would say, as everyone knows, there's a million AI technology. They're popping up everywhere, right? I just went to the HR Tech conference last week in Las Vegas. And I got to be honest, I was a little anxious. There are these huge companies, huge booths. You know, they're spending millions of dollars on their setups. And what I can tell you is, one, we're a staffing company and we're using the tool ourselves. And I've seen directly the impact on our business, the positive impact. So what you have is you have technology companies, other companies developing similar technologies, but they don't understand staffing. They don't understand recruiting. So that's number one. Number two is, because we're smaller, we've built it from the ground up. So I've seen a lot of big platforms, they're trying to bolt AI on top. It's slower. It simply just does not work as well. Based on what I saw last week, we are farther along than anyone else in the world. And I mean that. And what I mean by that, AJ, we have from start to finish a full cycle recruiter. You have other technologies that maybe do text interviewing. Another technology does video interviewing. Another technology does the resume. Ours literally solves an end-to-end business process from start to finish. And that's a huge differentiator. And then lastly, our COO is a former chief human resource officer of very large corporations. So just his expertise in HR and understanding talent acquisition, obviously his feedback is incorporated into the product as well.
Absolutely. There's so much to learn about all this from you, Casey. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more about you, about your company, about your tool called Scout. What's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, so I would, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn, Casey Marquette. And then you could also email me at casey.marquette, MARQUETTE @COV. That's Charlie Ocean Victor Technologies, TECHNOLOGIES.com.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KAJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thanks, AJ. Thanks, everyone.